Hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of the video series where I upgrade your block designs. I've received more than 100 submissions already, so unfortunately I'll have to do a very small part of them, but I hope you'll like the video, and if you want to have a chance of having your block design upgraded in one of those videos, you can submit it in the form below. With that being said, let's move on to the first block. I think I'm gonna take this block. This looks pretty interesting. I could work with this, probably. I need to find the layers though. I kind of like this, I'm not gonna lie. This looks really cool. This saw effect. Okay, let's copy this design and paste it above the level. I think I'm gonna disable the hue shader. It'll be easier to work with colors like that. And let me remove these lightnings. There we go. This is the block that I'm gonna try to upgrade. Probably gonna start from scratch, it'll be easier for me to work like that. I'm not gonna do anything crazy, just something a bit more complicated, but still fitting to the style. Let's have a structure like this, maybe. I think I'm not gonna use this as my main detail, because you know, if I just filled this in like this, it would just look bad. Let's see what I could use for the block. Maybe I could use some of these spikes. Maybe they could look cool as a detail here, like this. Let's add some of our own details. I think this object could look pretty cool. Could make a small pyramid like this. Actually, I have an idea how to use these blocks. You could scale them down like 0.5, move them off grid like this. I mean on a smaller grid. We could make small structures here that are kind of connected to the big one. We can add some glow on top of them, some very slight glow. There we go. And maybe some spikes. I think I should make it more glowy, because there's a lot of objects blending together in the original level. Kind of want to keep that vibe. Let's try adding glow maybe. I think this kind of glow looks pretty nice. Yeah, this is not bad. Honestly, this is very different from the original design. Kind of making my own block inspired by this style, not really upgrading. Should probably try to keep more of the original style. Let's just try to paste these triangles from the original. And let's try to use these lightning objects as well. I think they should be different color. This is a pretty weird color. It doesn't look that bad. It's alright. Now to my favorite part. I love this saw thing. Could probably just place it somewhere in the center, but I think I should make it very low opacity. I think we could have something in the middle as the center for this rotating saw. I think it blends together with everything a bit too much, so we can add a shadow. Now let's copy it, scale it up, and make it darker. There are some particles in the original level like this. Let's try incorporating them into this design. Maybe I'll definitely need to change some settings. What is this lifetime randomization? Oh my god. Okay, let's try putting them maybe here. I think they should have a color. Now they do have a color. Let's put some spikes on top of the structure to give it a more interesting shape. And we cannot forget about this guy. He should stay in the design. We must add them. Let's just place it here, honestly. Let's add something more. Maybe this could work. These slopes. We could have some structures using this. We could copy these spikes and connect them here We could just copy this one, move it over here, scale it down for variety, and also change the spikes a little bit. What is this text? Background. You know what? Let's take some background and use it as a background for our block. Look at this. This is beautiful. I kind of like this block, honestly. I think it would fit in this level. This is kind of both clean and messy at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, this is the result. I hope you like it. It's very different from the original block, but I tried to combine multiple details from the rest of the level too. And I think it looks pretty nice in the result, and it keeps the vibe of the level. So I kind of like it. Let's move on to the next block. This is the next submission I'm gonna work with. And this one is actually just one block, so we'll work with this structure. Let's copy the level and build. The structure is pretty nice. Let me copy this. I don't know if I like that it's completely symmetric. Maybe I'll just add a few more shapes to make it more interesting. I think I'm gonna do something like this for the structure. Okay, let's see what we have here. We have the base layer. Let's copy this. There we go, only 6 objects. I think these things are a bit too repetitive. There's a lot of them, and they could be used only in a few places, kind of as highlights. I also think this should be brighter, because it's kind of supposed to be the highlight of this whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna have these bright highlights, and I'm probably gonna keep just only 2 of them. So add an outline outside the block, and they're gonna get darker the further they get from this highlight. I think it's a pretty cool idea. They used this object in this design, and I'm gonna do the same, but I'm gonna do it a bit differently. I'm only gonna put 1, but I think it looks better when it's centered in a structure that stands out like this. I could maybe also add something like this here. I'm not sure if this will work. I think it looks fine if it's a tiny detail like this. There's also this circle around the block. I don't know if I like this circle. Could maybe have this thing circling around the structure instead of that. Actually, I don't think it fits at all. I could use a circle like this and stretch it and add as a circling detail around this block in the middle. I actually think this looks pretty messy with this glow. I'm gonna remove it. Maybe it's time for some details inside the blocks. Original design uses this particle object, but I think I'm gonna do something else. I don't think this shape really fits here. I think it could use a more organized shape, something cleaner. I'm not sure what I'm doing right now. It doesn't look so good. I think this is just a bad idea. I think this is it. I think I just gotta delete this. That's all. You know what? I have a better idea, I think. Here's the idea. I add a glow bar. I move it slightly like this so they kind of overlap. You have this line in the middle. Now I'm gonna warp this glow. Sometimes your ideas might just not work, and it's alright. Deleting something you spend a lot of time on is pretty common part of a creating process. In this design, these things kind of fill in all the space, so it doesn't look that empty. But here, I only use them twice because I want to have them as highlights. Maybe let's also use triangles, but I'm gonna use spikes and try to create some interesting shapes with them. This took a lot of tries, but I think I have something Yeah, I think I'm gonna have these triangles as our main detail. This block is harder than I expected. Surprisingly harder than the last one. I'm gonna make a spawn loop using spawn ordered on spawn trigger. You can easily make a spawn loop using this feature without wasting a lot of groups that you would use if you use the create loop button. The create loop button doesn't use this spawn order thing, and because of that it uses a lot of groups. And spawn ordered is also much better because you can easily adjust the delay without changing the numbers. And now we could add something to connect this with the ground, maybe just some lines, I don't know. Now what I think I can do is add more dark lines inside the blocks. They'll have the same rotation as the bright ones. Okay, I copy and pasted the lines, and I think now these look a bit unfitting in some places. Last thing I didn't use from the original design is these grid blocks, so let's try adding them here somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna place them like this, and then maybe I can add an outline for each block. And now maybe we can add a background so that it doesn't blend in too much with the main block. I think an area tint on this would be pretty cool. Let's try that with length at like 26 and a random offset so that it kind of pulses randomly. There we go. Now we can see those blocks on the inside are pulsing as I'm moving around. I think that could be very cool if it's actually used in the level. And one thing I also want to add is parallax to these spikes. I think they would look better if they were on the foreground, kinda. I'm gonna use area move for this parallax. It's not the best way to make parallax because it's pretty unoptimized, but it's the easiest and I don't really care about optimization right now, so I'm doing that. I'm gonna set the length to 200, move distance to 10, and then I need a scale trigger without a center group. Now I need to divide 10 by 200 and add it to 1, so it'll be 1.05. And there we go, we have foreground parallax. Okay, this is starting to look pretty good. I'm okay with this design. Now let's add more of these grid blocks to the background like they're used in the original design. This will be a very simple detail just to add a bit more depth. Okay, there we go. And now I'll just add some parallax to this as well. We can just copy the old settings but make this negative and change this value to this. Now I'm gonna add one more thing, just some spikes on top for extra detail. I think they could also look cool with this gradient line thing. Could also add some details on the inside like this. Still a bit empty. Okay, I think I'm done with this design. I could do more with it, but honestly I'm just kind of out of ideas at this point, so I'm gonna move on to the next one. I think the parallax looks pretty nice to be added here. It's a solid design overall, I think. I hope you like it. This is the next submission I'm gonna try to work with. They asked me to do either this block or this one. Once again, I don't think I'm gonna work right here. I'm gonna make a different structure because I think the structuring is kind of the main problem of this design right now. I think you could make some more interesting shapes, and overall I think this kind of structure is a bit weird because you can kind of just have nothing right here and it's kind of hanging. I don't know, it looks a bit weird. This design kind of reminds me of something that I made for Sputniks for GD Plays 2. If you've participated in that event where anyone could participate in building a level on a website, then you might have seen my countdown digits. I think they're pretty nice. I think I'm just gonna use this structure. It's nothing very original, but I think it's just nice and simple. Looks fine. I added this second block here because I want to have this design kind of separated into two parts, just like here. Okay, let's add a base to our design. I'm not sure what the outline color will be yet. I think we could make it more interesting and have this thing not only have different color, but it's also gonna be a completely different design here. Okay, I think this looks fine. Now, this original block also has this darker outline on the inside, so let's do that real quick. I love these outlines. This is like my favorite line object in the game. Okay, there we go. Now let's add this rocky texture for the block. And I think I'm gonna use what the original design did. It's these kind of outlines. There we go. Okay. This was pretty annoying to do, but we have this texture now. I'm trying to make it not stand out that much because it's just a texture. So I'm keeping it similar color to the base. Pretty sure this is what the original design used, or at least it was an object similar to that. I think I have something in my head, some ideas. Let's try some spike designs. Maybe this will somehow help me with ideas. I think some particles could work really nicely here. Okay, I think this is a very nice detail to this. This looks pretty good. Maybe let's add some green here. I think this is pretty cool. The green things definitely add a lot to this. We can add some coral looking things using this object. This object is really good for making corals. They can be different colors. I think they look a bit better on the back of the structure actually. They look pretty good here, but this is not really what I wanted. I was trying to find a detail that could fit on top of the orange things. Maybe I can add some rocks on the inside of this block. I think default rock objects can be used pretty well if used correctly. I think this looks pretty nice. Now maybe let's move on to the aquarium thing. The inside of this block is gonna be water. Let's add some small spikes on top of this to make the water be slightly darker on the bottom. Let's make some bubbles using particles. Now let's add some glow. And let's add some seaweed like in the original design here. I'm gonna have some seaweed here, maybe some fishies, just like in an aquarium. And let's add some sand on the bottom of this. I'm gonna use these objects to create this nice ground texture. Oh, I think we can make a pretty cool detail here and on this block. We could make a fish fossil I really like this fish fossil idea. Oh my god, this is such a cool detail. Man, I love this. It's very simple, but just the idea, it's so nice. I would say this design is pretty much done. I don't really have that many ideas. I think it's still a bit empty. Maybe let's try some more foreground details. I think some rocks could work, maybe. I have a very useful tip. If you need to make something more similar to a certain color, like for example, I want this to be more blue, but I don't feel like setting up the color manually. You can just add this to a group, place an area tint, and here you can pick a color channel. For example, I'll use 28, and you can set the tint percentage. How tinted do you want this to be? Then you just set this option and your group here, and that's it. And if I place a start position here, make this a platformer so I can actually see. As you can see in the level playtest, it now looks a bit tinted to that color. Honestly, I think I'm done with this block. It could definitely be a bit better. I could add more details inside the main block, but I kind of just want to move on to the next block already because it's taking a while. Yeah, I think this is an improvement. I like the underwater theme a lot, so I had fun with this design. I hope you like it. The next block design submission is by Ripley, and guess what? I already upgraded this one, but I don't like it. So I'm gonna do it again. This block was gonna be featured in the first part, but the result didn't satisfy me. I'm gonna delete this design and start over. I hope it's gonna be better. I really hope so, because if it's gonna be even worse than the previous version, it's gonna be very sad. Most of you guys don't even know how legendary this block design is. This is actually partly my block design, because we made this as a block design swap with Ripley like 3 years ago. It's a very iconic block for us. You might have seen this block in a lot of levels, because we love this block and we love adding it everywhere. I think I want to make more consistent structuring, because there's 2 blocks and this one kind of just, I don't know, it doesn't really fit. Do I even want to have multiple blocks? I don't know. Yeah, with this block, I'm gonna have a lot of new and original ideas that aren't really in the original block. I honestly don't know how you can expand any ideas that are in the original block. I really want this to feel like an upgraded version of the block, because I can't lose this vibe, this beautiful design. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with the structure. So I kind of expanded this slope. I just realized it's actually just one slope and I made this out of it, but I think it's pretty cool, and I think I could make something similar to the original design. Okay, this is gonna be the base. Probably gonna have like a gray outline. So the main texture here is, I guess, this grid. So let's do something with the grid here. I think I'm gonna make it more noticeable, because really, if you look at it, this design, it's kind of just a whole lot of nothing. So let's make this a more notable detail. I'm also thinking of adding color later to this design. Some color that is not just red. I'm not sure why we decided to do red pulses for this block. Okay, we have this grid thing. Let's add some glow on top of it. And let's make the same thing on the other block. Like this. Let's use these bushes from the original design. I'm gonna try to make them look better somehow. Honestly, I don't know if this object is savable. Okay, let's add some flowers and fireflies on top of it. I think this could work. Actually, I think this is where we could add some color. Let's make some colorful flowers. Maybe let's keep it close to red though, to keep more of the original design maybe. I think this bush works better here. And let's make a second one. Honestly, I really don't feel like doing pulses and syncing them to the music. So I'm gonna make a static design instead. And try to make this look good without pulses. Let's make some spikes. It's gonna be pretty simple. I'm gonna have brighter spikes on this part of the block. And there's gonna be some dark ones down here. Okay, let's do some clouds like in the original block. I'm not sure why they're so spammed though. I'm gonna be a bit more thoughtful with their placement this time. I do want to keep this design pretty close to the original, despite it being a completely different structure. Okay, I added some clouds. I kind of want them to stand out a bit more from this block, so maybe I'll add a shadow on B3. Like low opacity, dark glow. You can like place it here. This makes them more separated from the block. Okay, I definitely like this more than my previous attempt so far. Another thing I should keep from the original design is the actual details in the block. I think I must use this. Let's try using this square somehow. Okay, there's gonna be this pretty bright square with glow. And then some darker squares that are next to it. They're gonna get darker as they get further away. And there's one more thing left. This detail from the original block. These pillars. Not sure I'm gonna use them yet, but we'll see. I think I'm gonna take this thing and warp it. So we have a 45-degree slope here. And make this a structure, kind of. Let's give this some glow. This is kind of cool. I think what I'm gonna do is copy this glow and place it on a layer behind as low opacity black. I think this looks fine considering what the original design is. This pretty good improvement, I'd say. Let's add some color behind the block. I think this could work. I think a rainbow here could look pretty cool. I can't lie, this is kind of effortless. Like, I'm not really putting that much effort into this block. And let's add the question marks from the original design. I don't know why, but I like this. It's not even that great of a design, but you know, it kind of gives off some old 2.0 level vibes. I don't know why. Just maybe it's the clouds and the random question marks and like a lot of details all over the place. Yeah, I like this more than my previous attempt at upgrading this. It's a more interesting take on the original design. The other one was kind of just the same block but with rainbow colors. This block is not the greatest, but I think it has some cool vibes. I don't know, I like it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really hope you like the blocks. You can comment down below which one is your favorite. And if you enjoyed the video, you can like and subscribe. And if you want your block to be featured in one of those videos, you can submit it in the form below. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.